Hello, I'm a 37-year-old woman. I'm working in San Francisco. I've been divorced for about 5 years. My ex-husband and I started working at the company on the same day. We first met at the job interview with our backs turned to each other. He was tall with decent looks, and his low-pitched voice was excellent. I wish I could have joined this company with that person. I remember thinking that as I entered the interview room. I'm ashamed, but if I may brag about myself for a moment, I had a pretty high SAT score and I was often complimented for doing my work very well. I was a little nervous about the interview that day, but I succeeded in getting the job. Perhaps my self-hypnosis was effective in telling myself to be myself as usual. And on the first day of work, my husband, who also got the job, and I became co-workers. We received training on the job together and ate lunch together, providing time to get to know each other better and become closer. In contrast to me, who is lively and ambitious, my husband was kind and gentle in everything. At that time, I had only dated bad boy types, but after being betrayed too many times by such men, I became attracted to my gentle husband. My husband also seemed to like me, who was quite different from him because I was active, and he found me charming. Luckily, we were assigned to the same department, and because we had ample time together, I can't say who made the first move, but naturally, we became a couple. I spent each day excited over my husband, who was kind and caring towards me, making me so happy. But even in the midst of that, there were parts that I was a little worried about. Since we were both new employees, I felt it would become a problem if anyone found out we were dating. So I told my husband, let's date secretly for 1 year like this. After that, let's open up to the people at work. My husband said that he would listen to anything I say unconditionally. I fell in love with him, who would say anything so nicely, and thought that the dating I had before couldn't be called dating. However, to such a nice and kind husband, he had a fatal flaw. It was that he had no ambition. Unlike me, who wanted to be promoted quickly after being recognized for my abilities, my husband was content with anything, and always did things that promoted others instead of himself. In my eyes, I could see how his coworkers were taking advantage of him. So I told him after work, honey, didn't I say this before? If you continue to say yes to everyone's requests, you will end up cleaning up after someone's dirty work, and you won't be promoted. Don't you want to be promoted? I continued to nag at him, as if a mother was nagging over school grades. However, this kind man instead said, why are you getting worked up over such minor matters? It's okay with me. Even though he had many positive qualities, his only flaw was just too serious that I would get angry at him many times during the day at work. Then one day I overheard my assistant manager's telephone conversation in the women's lounge. She said, I don't have to do any overtime at night these days. I have someone to do all my work for me, so don't worry about it. And let's all get together tonight. I just need to make an excuse that I have to go home early today due to a family matter. These days, I actually enjoy coming to work. I felt so angry at her that I wanted to grab her hair. This is the reason why one should get promoted if they feel unfairly treated. I wondered how she could say that when I was right there. I was sure that the person she referred to on the phone was my husband. Because I was upset with the manager, I tilted my head a bit to glare at her. But to my surprise, the assistant manager told me what you just heard. Pretend you didn't hear it. As a senior, I'll give you some advice. Pretend not to have heard what you heard. And pretend not to have seen what you have seen. If you side with your coworker, just because you started on the same day, then instead of Jonathan, I'll make you work overtime. Got it? I wanted to immediately tell her that the person she was referring to was my boyfriend. But since we were both newbies in the company, revealing our relationship would have no effect, so I just bit my lip. After that day, I pestered my lame husband to make a new product development plan together. I thought that it was about time that the company would bring up a new business or new product development. However, my husband had no motivation, and moreover he had taken on too much work from others. After a month or two passed, just as I predicted, the department announced for us to come up with any new product ideas regardless of one's position. My team leader, whom I liked, adjusted my work hours so that I could devote more time to the new product development. A stroke of luck comes to a prepared person, right? I submitted the plan I had prepared in advance after editing it, and submitted it before anyone else. I also decided to help my husband, who had not even started his plan. However, my attempts to help were futile, as an unmotivated person can only cause heavy sighs. As a result, my husband was unable to complete the plan and did not submit it. After some time passed, I finally heard the long-awaited news. My plan was one of the 3 chosen for the new product development. I was given the opportunity to develop it as the youngest employee on the team, and having accomplished something that my seniors couldn't, my team leader singled me out to compliment me. I felt like I was flying when a person I respected gave me recognition. However, as I became happier, my husband's face turned darker for some reason. My team leader was a divorced man who had gotten divorced a year ago. Even though he did not do it openly, he secretly helped me often, and my husband was unhappy about it. It was a sort of jealousy. Later I heard from my husband one more thing. That he sarcastically compared me to himself when I became recognized for my ability in new product development. So I thought this was the right time and told my husband Twand, "See, you should have listened to me when I asked you to prepare a plan in advance. You are wonderful except for not being too ambitious. After we get married, you will become the head of the household. Yet, are you going to continue being like this?" My husband seemed surprised when I mentioned our marriage for the first time. After that day, my husband began to pay more attention to his work. I complimented my husband to encourage him. Then, my team leader asked me to go on a business trip to Hawaii related to the new product. Our company had launched a food-related brand, which became popular among young people. Among them, the branch in Hawaii was the focus of the marketing department. Of course, I agreed to go with him. However, when my husband watched me, it was the first time that he showed his displeasure by saying, "The trip is 2 days, 1 night. Can't you ask someone else to go on your behalf? How can a girl like you say you will go without any fear? It is my idea, so why should I tell other people to go? What I'm saying is, why do you have to go together with him, just the 2 of you?" When I saw my husband getting angry, it only made me chuckle. I felt good knowing that my husband really liked me this much. Truthfully, if he had more ability, he would be a great man, hard to find in this world. So I was determined to help him succeed in any way I could. I felt sorry for my team leader, but I thought the fastest way to motivate my husband was by using my team leader as bait. I showed my husband that I was attracted to capable men by stimulating his jealousy, even during our dating. On the day I was to travel to Hawaii, I told him that I had no choice but to go, even though my husband was pouting and silent since the night before. That's how I ended up going on a business trip with my team leader. I have to admit, there was a strange atmosphere between my team leader and me in Hawaii, so I casually mentioned in our conversation that I was dating my husband. The team leader seemed very surprised at my confession. He promised to keep it a secret, saying that he had no idea about us. I returned to San Francisco safely after finishing the business trip to Hawaii. As I had hoped, my husband became more ambitious about his work after I returned. Although he couldn't change his kind personality to refuse work from his seniors, in the midst of that, he continued to either study or do marketing research that was needed for the new product development. Soon we both got promoted, and I became greedier for more work when I became pregnant unexpectedly. I did want to have a child after getting married someday, but still, the timing wasn't right at the time. But my husband was thrilled at my pregnancy and proposed to me right away. I couldn't ignore the new life starting in my body and couldn't betray the man who proposed to me, who was so happy about my pregnancy. So, I ended up getting married earlier than I had anticipated. People at my work were surprised, as they had no idea that we were dating, and the assistant manager who was rude in the women's lounge was the most surprised person among all. In truth, our relationship was strained somewhat because my husband and I were promoted to her position faster. Since she had mistreated my husband so openly, of which I was aware, I'm sure she felt uncomfortable in front of us. Aside from her, everyone congratulated us. Soon I announced my pregnancy to the company. I felt uneasy, but because of my pregnancy, my workload was reduced. However, I was not happy about that. Instead, I felt somewhat sad. Moreover, the team leader who had taken care of me gave his notice to quit. My husband was happy about that. I didn't let it show, but I felt sorry to see him go. Soon, a new female team leader was transferred to our department. My husband was glad to see her as he had met her during his interview. The team leader was happy to see my husband too, saying that she remembered him. Perhaps due to my hormonal changes, I did not feel very good about it. Regardless, we had our wedding soon after, and we started our newlywed life in a small apartment. After my pregnancy was stabilized, my stomach became more pronounced, and I started to wear maternity clothes to work. I thought that people's looks were not that kind towards me. I started to feel self-conscious, even though I was not treated differently just because of my pregnancy. Whatever the reason, I started to lose interest in my work. My self-confidence was not like before. My husband asked me if I should either take a pregnancy leave of absence or quit work. Because I didn't want to waste my hard work, I decided to take the pregnancy leave of absence. When I finally decided on the leave of absence, all kinds of thoughts flashed in my head. Among them, I had worries about my husband, who was not very motivated, and whether he would be promoted and stay in his position. Then one workday I met my mom. When I was working, I could never have dreamed of meeting with her. I discussed my concerns with my mother, and knowing my ambition for work, she told me, "You can help him until the baby is born. You know his work, so why don't you lead him? Why do you worry about it? Who knows? Because of your help, he might get promoted and establish himself well with the company. Then won't he be very grateful to you? Don't you think so?" After listening to my mother, I became passionate about the idea. When I thought about realizing my plans through my husband at work, many ideas popped up. I became excited like when I first started working. After that day, I asked my husband in detail what happened at work when he came home. Through him, I learned that the team leader, who had a strong foothold in the company, was planning a new business. Then I began thinking about the new business. While shopping in the grocery store, I conducted market research and went through many newspaper articles, blogs, and internet cafes to come up with a new business idea. "Honey, this is a new idea for the new business. Why don't you suggest this to the team leader? When did you prepare all this? And this is all done by you. How can you ask me to bring it up to the team leader when it is not done by me? It's not done by me, it is done by you. Just look it over once on your way to work, and if the team leader asks you about it, just stall for time and contact me." My husband objected to receiving my help, but since I worked hard to prepare them, I told him it would be a shameful waste and pushed him to submit them. Fortunately, with that plan, when the team leader liked it, my husband started to take a strong hold at his work. His team leader started to support my husband. As a result, other seniors were no longer able to dump their hard work on him. This recognition led to my husband immediately starting to make reports or give briefing presentations when he came home from work, and he became known as a highly capable employee. However, as he solidified his position at work, his hours became later, and he even had to work on weekends, unlike before. This meant that I spent more time alone at home, but I tried to be understanding as my husband was busy and I was the one who put him in that situation. I had entered my 30th week of pregnancy and started experiencing more frequent and painful spasms in my stomach. I didn't think much of it, assuming it was normal for this stage of pregnancy and that I would be fine as long as I didn't overexert myself. However, during a regular checkup, I went to my obstetrician's office, which was located in a large hospital with both pediatrics and labor sections. The waiting room was full, so I sat in the corridor that connected the obstetrics and pediatrics areas. It was there that I saw something unbelievable. My husband, who had gone to work in the morning, was playing with a little girl I had never seen before in the pediatrics area. At first, I turned away, thinking it was someone who looked similar, but then I decided to walk over just in case. As I approached, I saw my husband talking to his team leader, who had a prescription in her hand. Confused, I looked at my husband, who seemed flustered when he saw me. Then, the little girl who was playing with him said, "Daddy, you promised to take me to the kids' cafe tomorrow, right?" My legs almost gave out from under me. I couldn't collapse like that, especially not in front of other people. Honey, what are you doing here? I glared at my husband, ready to kill him. At that moment, other people looked at us, and a few kids started to cry. Linda, don't misunderstand this. Talk with me. The team leader tried to escape from the onlookers and took me to a hallway. I shouted at my husband, who stood like a stiff tree, to follow after me immediately. Linda, I know this situation can be misinterpreted, but before you get angry, please listen to me first. I couldn't control my anger and I shouted, "Stop it. I will talk. Actually, I'm seeing the team leader. Today, her daughter had flu symptoms, so I followed them to the hospital because I was worried." My husband declared. When I heard my husband say that, I acted like a crazy woman and beat him with my handbag that I was holding. How could he have an affair while his wife was pregnant? How could he betray me when he had no ability, yet I helped him advance by giving him my plans? He betrayed his own baby in my stomach, yet he followed someone else's child to the pediatrics. I just could not bring myself to forgive him. I strongly attacked my husband, and when I caused such a commotion, a security guard ran toward me to stop the fight. Perhaps from the sudden shock, I couldn't bear the sudden extreme pain in my stomach, and I collapsed on the floor and started to bleed. As I lost consciousness, a doctor rushed toward me, and that's how I lost my baby. With the shock of my husband's betrayal and losing my baby, I couldn't sleep or eat. I needed to be cared for without my baby, and after that day, my husband did not come home at all. My in-laws blamed me, saying how poorly I must have taken care of my pregnancy. I told them about their son having an affair with his boss at work, and from the shock, I had a miscarriage, but they did not believe me. We were so shocked by your claim, so we asked Jonathan. He said that he was trying to earn some credits from his boss, so he was working hard like a slave. So what's with the preposterous accusation? You stay at home comfortably without working, and don't you have anything better to do other than accusing your husband with your delusional jealousy? When I listened to Jonathan, it seems the team leader also recognized him. But why are you only like this? You should be helping your husband instead of attacking him. You should be helping your husband to do better at work. But how could you accuse your husband of having an affair with his boss to make him lose face at work? And now you claim that your miscarriage is not your fault, but my son's? Are you in the right mind? When my mother-in-law's unbelievable accusations continued, I could only laugh. I decided to confront those two and reveal the truth at work. The next day I went to work. I don't know how they found out that I was coming, and that the team leader came all the way out to the lobby and grabbed me as I was headed to my husband's desk. Then she made an unbelievable suggestion. Linda, I didn't know you were such a person who has no thoughts. Aren't you on a leave of absence? Aren't you going to come back to work? Are you planning to divorce my boyfriend and submit your resignation? My boyfriend? I was stunned at her words. How could she refer to my husband as her boyfriend? I felt like the whole world was turning upside down on me. You should calm down and think rationally. You had a good reputation even before your marriage. So just get divorced quietly and return to work. Then I'll talk to the HR department and prepare another position at a different department. You'll receive better compensation than before. She was playing with me. Who was she to tell me to get a divorce, and on what authority could she transfer me to another department as a mere team leader? You are some woman, aren't you? Have you only worked for the first time? Who are you to tell me to get a divorce or not to staff in your department? Aren't you so arrogant? And is the company yours? How could you bring up a departmental transfer? You're just a team leader on a salary and an adulteress who sleeps with staff under you. You are nothing but an adulteress with a daughter. What you need to do is not be arrogant in front of me, but kneel in front of me and beg for my forgiveness. How dare you act like this? At that moment, the team leader slapped my face. I am the one before you. You should speak after you know the facts. Who am I? I am the one who could fire you at any moment. I am the one who could promote anyone I like. I am the one who hired your husband too. You, who came out of nowhere, intercepted my husband and not only got married but also got pregnant. I couldn't believe it. I started to shake at her words. Actually, I was surprised that my husband, who had a less than stellar background in terms of his education or any special abilities, was hired by the company. I was just speechless. At that time, my husband came out, and he was worried about the team leader instead. "Are you okay? I was wondering where you were. Why did you come out here? I told you I would take care of everything." And he said to me, "Are you such a woman who clings like this? Don't you know how you made me get so sick of you with your arrogance? I beg you, please, please give me a divorce." I wondered if that man was the same man who I thought was a kind and gentle husband. To spite him, I thought of never agreeing to a divorce. However, he was without any conscience and filed for divorce first. He stated that the reason for the divorce was his emotional distress due to my delusional jealousy, which caused my miscarriage. I was so angry with my lying husband that I hired a divorce attorney. Then the ugly divorce proceedings continued through mud. As time went by, only hatred and stubbornness remained. Then I became so tired of the fight, as the sly ex-husband and team leader left no evidence of their infidelity, which increased the suspicion of my delusional jealousy on my part. The trial was at my disadvantage. As I spent each day in hell, an unexpected phone call rang. It was none other than the former team leader. He was the one who was nice to me. He said he called because he heard some bad rumors about me. "Miss Harris, I mean Linda, I heard that you are in a bad situation. Since you have nothing to gain in that fight, why don't you stop and work with me? I set up a company not too long ago, and if you would come and work with me, I would feel more confident. I know that the rumors about you are not true. Linda, the person I know, is not that kind of person. That's why I've called you to work with me." At his words, I started to sob, and I told him all the things that had happened to me. I also got a divorce under similar circumstances as yours. At first, I felt so unjustified that I even thought of doing bad things. But when I first decided to kill myself, I felt it was too unfair. I thought, why should I die to make their lives easier? I know right now you feel so unjustified, but just hold it for now. Only think of yourself. If you are in that pit, you will never get out of your pain. Let's think about revenge for the next time. Do you understand what I'm saying? After talking to the team leader, I cried for a long time. It wasn't because I felt unjustified, but because I was thankful. I felt as if I had found a light in a long tunnel that was so dark. I also felt I had found a reason to live. As a result, I agreed to the divorce on the terms that my ex-husband wanted. And with a determination that I would someday take revenge against those two, I worked day and night at the new company. Then one day, I heard the news that the new business was being launched based on the business plan that I had made and given to my ex-husband. I decided to prioritize my idea by adding a new concept to the same business and improving it. Our company then achieved major success upon its launch. Although we were just a startup, with a team leader who was the CEO of the company and had a wide recognition and good reputation in the industry, we advanced quickly. My idea also contributed to our success. After 3 years, we became a major competitor to my former company. Then, I heard that my ex-husband's company was launching a new business, which was the same plan that I had given to him. However, our company had already launched the product, guaranteeing our victory. As expected, other companies accused my ex-husband's company of copying our concept and gave a cold reception. My ex-husband, who was in charge of the new business, faced consequences. The new business had to take responsibility for its failure and had resigned from the company. Then I wondered what happened to that conniving team leader who got fired. A few days later, I accidentally found out the reason from within our company. Our company was expanding so fast, and we needed to hire more employees, both new and experienced. I was in charge of conducting interviews, and that's when I saw a familiar face. It was a team leader from my former job. Her arrogance had disappeared, and she now had a number tag in front of her chest. When I looked at her desired salary, she had put a high amount that was beyond her capabilities. I couldn't believe it, and I just left. She seemed angry at my attitude and glared at me. However, she was surprised to see that I was now a director, and her eyes fluttered. I asked her why she had quit her job at the previous company. As far as I know, I heard that she had a substantial influence on the company. Did she by any chance have another affair with a staff member under her? Or did her boyfriend have an affair? Is it her specialty to give all the credit to an unqualified man and have a secret affair behind the man's wife? How dare she come here for a job when she has lived a life like that? Why? Does she want to set up a similar situation here as well? There is a saying that you will meet an enemy on a one-log bridge. How is it that we are meeting at this interview? Isn't this a great fate? The woman trembled as she got up from her seat. I spat behind her head. I told her that she will never get a job in this industry, and I will do my best to block her. It's too bad for her, but I have that much influence now. I hope she will remember this day for the rest of her life. Farewell. Her shoulders shook as if she was crying and she left the building. I felt so relieved, as if something that had been stuck in my chest for 10 years had finally been released. I had suffered so much to finally face this day. One more thing. I later found out from reviewing the applications that my ex-husband had also applied at our company. However, his application did not pass the first round. If he had passed the interview, I could have punched him once, but I regret missing the opportunity. At such a young age, I faced great adversity, but in my moment of deep despair, I met an angel and became successful on my second try. However, that doesn't mean I can erase the past. Even though it's still hard, I'm trying to move forward. That's the only way I can overcome the unhappiness I had to endure. Thank you for listening to my story. I wish you all the success in your future. Please cheer for me and share your words of wisdom in the comments section. Liking and subscribing would be a big help to me. Have a nice day.